What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and in this video I'm responding to an open tag on 5 knives that make me happy. Barbarian Brawny asked me to make this video in the comment section of his video on the same topic, so I will link that in the description below. Definitely check that out as well. Now, he didn't originate this open tag. I'm not sure exactly who did, but it seems to be kind of going around again recently, and then originated sometime over a year ago at this point. So if you just search 5 knives that make me happy, you'll find a ton of videos with this same subject, and if that's what you're looking for, there's a bunch of them out there, so definitely check out those ones as well. With that said, going to show an honorable mention just so there's something visually interesting to look at while I explain the philosophy of how I went about choosing. So this is the Kaiser Drop Bear in Toxic Storm, one of my most recent acquisitions. Beautiful knife, but kind of a segue into that introduction. So recency bias on this one, and I tend to really enjoy the knife that I got most recently. I'm always excited to get new knives and check them out, and so that played a part in this list as well. You'll see every knife on this list I picked up in the last 6 months, so there's definitely a recency bias, although that wasn't one of my criteria for choosing. If you ask me again in 3 months, I'm sure there will be newer knives that replace these on that list. Now, other thing to mention is that this is knives that bring me joy, knives that make me happy, not necessarily my favorite knives of all time, not my most carried or best users or anything like that, just stuff that in this moment make me happy, make me smile when I handle them or look at them. And so, although not criteria, there were a couple trends that I noticed while picking these knives. One is most all of them, or I'd actually say all of them, are very aesthetically pleasing, good to look at, beautiful knives. And so that wasn't a criteria, but definitely something that I guess when I thought about knives that make me happy was clearly something that resonated with me. Other thing that you'll see is they're well built, good materials, and so it ended up being that 3 out of the 5 knives were American made, but also not something I was trying to do. And so the ones that aren't American made are also well built and great materials, but it does seem like that more of those made it on the list than not. And then kind of the last thing that's definitely, there's something psychological there, is that 4 out of the 5 knives that I chose are from knives that I've met the designer or the owner of that company, and not sure what that is, but like I said, I'm sure there's a psychological reason that just having a face that I can associate with the knife, you have a deeper emotional connection. I've met them and they're cool people that have a passion for EDC or knives in specific, and I want to see them succeed. And so I'm sure that played a part in it. Like for Kaiser, for example, I don't know Ozzo, the designer of this. I don't know who founded Kaiser even, and so there's less of an emotional connection. So even though that wasn't a criteria, that was something that ended up happening that I wanted to mention, because one of the things that was a criteria is that I bought all of these knives at full price with my own money. None of these were sent to me for review, and so that was, I didn't want it to be biased in that way, and so I purposely excluded anything that was sent to me for review. Other thing worth noting is that I don't have affiliate links for any of these. A lot of them aren't really readily available either, but even if they are, don't have affiliate links for them, and so really wanted to take all of the bias out of the decision-making process. So with that said, probably could have chosen 20 knives that make me happy in this moment, but tried to do a variety so it's not all of the same thing. So we have a little bit of everything here. Starting with the ProTec Mordax. Now, really good looking knife. This one was a CCKS exclusive. You can see it was serialized number 22 out of 50. Has the blacked out MagnaCut blade, the honeycomb pattern, which I believe was the first time they've done that pattern, but they have done it since. And then the abalone button. So you won't find this combination of those 3 things on any of their other knives, but if you want to find something similar, their New York custom knife show had a mosaic pin, I believe, and then another show, I don't remember which one, had a mother of pearl button. Maybe that was Blade Texas, not 100% sure on that though. But besides just being a good looking knife, it's extremely fidgety and my favorite button lock of all of the ones in my collection. And so previously that was the Malibu, another ProTec, and ProTec is made in the USA, right down the street from me actually. And so previously was the Malibu, but I just like the heft on this one a little bit better. It's got a little bit of a more satisfying action than the Malibu, in my opinion, and is also much more comfortable in hand. It's just ergonomically kind of a perfectly fits my hand, and so that's one of the things that made me really like this knife. Now, I'm gonna set that down and get into the next one. These aren't in any particular order. In fact, I guess if they were in an order, it was try to switch variety. So going from a modern locking knife to a modern traditional. So this is a slip joint. I'm actually gonna leave that in there. So carry it in the slip for the most part. And this does come with the knife. I usually carry traditionals as my secondary knife and will carry a modern locking knife as my primary. So as much as possible, I like to carry them in a slip if I have one that fits them, and I'm definitely trying to build up my collection of slips. But put this in my fifth pocket, usually next to a AAA flashlight, and that basically fills up the pocket. This does stick out a little bit, but I like that because it makes it easy to grab. Now, the Kingpin, like I said, is modern traditional, and so it has these black micarta inlays with a titanium bolster, and I believe it's Boulder M390 on the blade. Really, really good looking, super clean aesthetic to it. The only branding whatsoever is that N for NotoriousEDC, but otherwise wouldn't even know who made this knife. Just a really great example of it, and I included this one because it's what really rejuvenated my interest in traditionals. It took a little bit. Right when I got it, I was like, oh, I should get more traditionals, but then didn't. But as I carried it more and more, I realized how much I liked carrying it as a secondary blade, and so have been getting more traditionals to carry as secondary blades. So really cool one, and it's still on my list because even though I have a decent collection of traditional slip joints now, I still carry this one a decent bit. It just ends up in my pocket. So really love that knife and don't see it leaving this list anytime soon. Now next up is a Blade Show acquisition. This one's from OEG EDC. Gonna leave it in its sheath as well because I do think it's cool that he did two different colors of Kydex on here to match the blade, which you'll see in just a second here. But this is the OEG Marion, and it's a small fixed blade, which is perfect because where I live, it's difficult to carry fixed blades. You have to open carry them, and I'm in a really populated area, so people tend to get intimidated by bigger knives. And so this one just kind of is subtle, and most people don't even notice it. It's nice and small, but can open carry it without getting too many glances. Really cool Arctic camo on there, and he does all of these coatings himself, or if it's anodized, the anodizations himself. You can see it has that Made in the USA and MagnaCut stamp on there. Has that one-eyed ghost logo on the back of it. Just a really great looking knife. Now, I like the pattern so much that I told him at the show that, hey, I'd love to get a good luck pry in this pattern. Have you ever made one? And he said, you know, I'll make you one when I get home. And so he did. So this is the Good Luck Pry that matches that one. The knife, you might be able to tell, has some surface scratches on it. It's gotten a little bit used. I've never used this, and so I do plan on it. It hasn't gone into my rotation quite yet, but I do plan on using it. But really cool, and you can see matches that really well. So really fun combination, and just makes me happy to see it. And so those are pretty hard to get, the Marions and the Good Luck Prize. They do online drops, but if you go to a show there, he had a decent selection of all of his products there. So that seems like the best way to get them if you're trying to get them, is try and go to a show if he makes it out to any local ones to you. Now, next on the list is another slip joint. This one, a traditional slip joint. And so this is also carried in the sheath. You can probably guess what it is from the sheath, the GEC, but did not come with the knife. Had to buy this separately, but carry it the same way as I do that Kingpin in the fifth pocket. Also sticks out a little bit, which is really nice. GEC, if you don't know, is Great Eastern Cutlery. And I have 3 of these now, not this exact knife, 3 Great Eastern Cutlery knives. And this is by far my favorite. I'm not sure 100% what it is about it, but it's the pattern 56, which is the dog leg pattern. It has the easy access notch, and it's part of their Northfield Unexcelled line, which is their kind of premium, nicer line. So it's gonna have that high polished blade and bolsters, and just overall should be a little bit better built than some of the other ones in the lineup, although all of them are great. And so this has the avocado jigged bone covers, and absolutely beautiful. Now, I've seen pictures of some that are a little bit lighter than mine and some that are a little bit darker. Mine's somewhere in the middle, but really, really love the color on it. Also like the jigging pattern. So a lot of times you'll see these kind of small cutouts. These ones travel from one end to the other and are really well matched on both the cover and the back side. And so really just a beautiful knife overall. Pretty small, it's not a huge knife, but just love the look of it and super happy with it. I'll do a video on these at some point, all 3 of my GECs, and probably by then I'll have more. But I'm a little bit of a ways out. I've been trying to go in order of what I picked them up, and so have a lot in line in front of this. But a beautiful knife, and super excited to get that one. I actually got this on the secondary, but it was in perfect, pristine condition. It's actually almost a little bit better because you can ask for video and pictures of it beforehand, where I have gotten one through retail, through a drop, and you don't get to choose. So I did luck out on that one. They tend to do pretty good on their fit and finish, obviously. That's kind of one of the reasons why they're so popular. But it is nice when you buy it on the secondary, you can look at, you know, pictures and videos of the exact knife that you're gonna get beforehand. Now, last but not least is another Blade Show pickup. This is the Jack Wolf Knives Gunslinger Jack, and his first locking knife. And so he usually does modern traditionals. This one's a locking. Got the purple, although there were, I believe, 5 colors like he usually does. Has that kind of gun stock pattern on the handle and the clip point blade. Just a really good looking knife. And it kind of blends the two. This is definitely a modern knife. It's locking, but all the traditional kind of cues. Now it does have a pocket clip, but you can replace that. He sends an insert to delete the pocket clip if that's what you want to do. And just a fun one. It has a front flipper and really easy to use. I'm not great at front flippers. This one's really easy to use. Also locks, as I mentioned, titanium on those bolsters. And aside from that front flipper, you also have the nail nick, so you can kind of pinch it or use that nail nick if you want, but you can also use the nail nick to spidey flick it because it's so smooth. And so really like the acoustics on this one as well. I'm sure you picked that up, but I'll kind of stop talking for just a moment here so you can hear that. So really good whether you're front flicking it or spidey flicking it, but love this knife and don't have any of his slip joints yet. I do plan on probably picking up the next one that drops, but haven't picked one up yet. He did just recently have a sale because there were none that released this month. And so he had a sale on a bunch of them, but just didn't have the funds because I'd picked up a bunch of different stuff. So that's still on the horizon. Hopefully I'll get one soon, but that's my 5 knives that make me happy. Would love to hear yours in the comment below, or what you think of my selection. If there's any that you feel like shouldn't be in there, although this is very subjective in my opinion. So that's not really going to change, but would love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments below. Now, if you have a channel or are comfortable uploading a video, definitely tag me in it. Make a video on the 5 that make you happy, tag me in it, and I'd love to watch and see what other people chose. I've already watched a bunch of these just kind of naturally on channels that I watch, but if you make one, would love to see it as well. So be sure to tag me. And like I said, check out Barbarian Brawnies because he's the one that asked me to make this video, so his video is out there and was really good as well. But thanks for watching. Hope you have a great one, and take care.